All right, let's jump right into this explainer because we really need to talk about an incredibly common and, frankly, super frustrating experience. Just picture this. You've just finished a massive meal, a totally full plate. You're sitting back, you are completely full, and you tell yourself, okay, that is it, I am stuffed. But then, almost like clockwork, 20 minutes roll by and suddenly you find yourself obsessing over food again.
I mean, does that scenario sound familiar? Because I know it does for so many of us. And what happens next? You probably start judging yourself, right? Wondering why on earth you can't just be satisfied, or why you're literally peeking back into the pantry when you just ate. Honestly, it can feel like a massive personal failure.
Well, here is the hard truth that nobody is telling you. This is absolutely not a willpower problem. It is not laziness. What you are actually experiencing is your brain being chemically hijacked by one of the most insanely complex biological systems in the human body. Your brain is essentially lying to you about being hungry. And once we unpack the science behind how this all works, you'll finally understand what is actually controlling your appetite every single day.
Section 1. The Master Hunger Hormones.
You see, your hunger isn't just some random feeling that pops up. It's strictly controlled by two master hormones that, surprisingly, most people have never even heard of. The first one we need to talk about is ghrelin. You can basically think of ghrelin as the hunger hormone. It's produced right there in your stomach, and its one and only job is to send a very clear signal to your brain saying, hey, it is time to eat. The rule here is super simple. The more ghrelin you have circulating in your blood, the hungrier you're going to feel.
Now, back in 2001, Dr. David Cummings at the University of Washington was actually the very first to nail down ghrelin's role in hunger. He found that, normally, your ghrelin levels spike sharply right before a meal and then naturally drop off after you eat. But here is the shocking part. In some people, ghrelin levels barely drop at all after they eat. For them, that hunger alarm just keeps ringing and ringing, making them feel absolutely ravenous just minutes after finishing a meal.
And that brings us to the second major player, leptin. This one is your fullness hormone. So unlike ghrelin, leptin is actually produced by your fat cells. Its critical job is to act as this chemical messenger that taps your brain on the shoulder and says, hey, we have enough energy stored up, you can stop eating now.
The massive importance of this hormone was brought to light by Dr. Jeffrey Friedman at Rockefeller University, who discovered leptin back in 1994. And it was instantly hailed as one of the most important discoveries in obesity research for one really profound reason. Without leptin signaling effectively, your brain literally never gets the message that you're full. It's like the mail just never gets delivered.
So, what we have here is this constant, intense head-to-head battle happening inside us all the time. Ghrelin is screaming, eat, and leptin is whispering, stop. When these two hormones are functioning correctly, you eat a normal amount, you feel perfectly satisfied, and you move on. But when they get out of balance, you are quite simply always going to feel starving no matter how much food you literally just consumed.
Section 2. The Leptin Resistance Trap.
Now, you might logically think, okay, so people who are overweight must just have low levels of leptin, right? But the science shows the exact opposite. Overweight individuals actually have more leptin than average, simply because they have more fat cells producing it. So why are they still so hungry? Well, it's because they're trapped by a condition called leptin resistance. Dr. Robert Lustig, a brilliant neuroendocrinologist over at UC San Francisco, uses this perfect analogy. He says leptin resistance is like having a smoke detector with a dead battery. The house is completely on fire, meaning your fat cells are screaming at the top of their lungs that you are totally full, but the alarm never goes off. Your brain just can't hear the signal anymore. And because it can't hear the leptin, your brain actually assumes you are starving. So what does it do? It slows down your metabolism and cranks up that hunger dial, making it nearly impossible to feel satisfied.
Section 3. Hijacked by food companies.
So, how do these hormones get so badly disrupted in the first place? Well, food companies understand exactly how your hunger biology works, and they have spent billions, literally billions of dollars, engineering food to deliberately exploit it. Dr. David Kessler, the former head of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, actually spent years investigating this. He revealed that ultra-processed food is engineered with a highly specific, totally calculated combination of sugar, fat, and salt. He calls this the bliss point, and it is designed to completely override your brain's natural satiety signals. Hitting this bliss point triggers a massive dopamine release in your brain, activating the exact same pathways as addictive drugs. And you know the absolute worst part? Foods engineered this way don't satisfy your hunger, they actually amplify it. Every single chip makes you want another chip. Your hunger hormones honestly never stood a chance against this level of chemical engineering.
Section 4. Your second brain, the gut. Because here's the thing, your hunger isn't just controlled by hormones floating around in your blood. There is an entire second brain involved in this whole process, and it lives right in your gut, communicating directly to your head via this massive superhighway called the vagus nerve. Dr. Amran Meir at UCLA has spent decades studying this mind-gut connection, and his research reveals something totally wild. The bacteria in your gut directly influence your food cravings. When you eat a bunch of processed foods and sugars, you're actually feeding the bad gut bacteria. And those bacteria? They use that vagus nerve to actively send signals right up to your brain, literally requesting more sugar and more junk food.
100 million. Take a second to process that. That is the number of nerve cells living in your gut right now, which, by the way, is more than in your entire spinal cord. The takeaway here is pretty profound. Your cravings are not always yours. Sometimes they quite literally belong to the bacteria living inside of you. You feed the bacteria that crave the junk, which makes them multiply, and then they just demand even more junk. It's a vicious cycle.
Section 5. Sleep and stress factors. Because as if engineered food and rogue gut bacteria weren't enough to deal with, our modern lifestyle creates this perfect storm for a hunger system that is perpetually broken. Just look at the data from Dr. Matthew Walker, a professor of neuroscience at UC Berkeley. He shows that just one single night of poor sleep violently throws your master hormones completely out of whack. I mean, it spikes your hunger hormone Ghrelin by 24% while simultaneously suppressing your fullness hormone Leptin by 18%. Because of this, your brain is chemically primed to be ravenous the very moment you wake up.
And the real-world consequence of that hormonal shift, it's huge. After just one bad night of sleep, people consume an average of 300 extra calories the very next day, and they do it without even consciously realizing it. It's all because their broken signaling system is just screaming for more energy to compensate for being so tired. And then you add stress into the mix. Dr. Alyssa Eppel at UCSF has shown that chronic stress releases a hormone called cortisol. Now, cortisol doesn't just make you feel overwhelmed, it directly increases that ghrelin we talked about. It triggers these intense, overwhelming cravings for high-calorie, high-fat, high-sugar comfort foods. And on top of that, chronic stress actively forces your body to store more of that food as fat, particularly right around your abdomen.
Section 6. Take back your control.
Now that we've mapped out all the villains here, the leptin resistance, the engineered bliss points, those demanding gut bacteria, the sleep deprivation, and the crazy cortisol spikes, we can actually fix the system. Here are the 6 evidence-backed protocols to naturally regulate your hunger. Step 1. Eat more protein. Dr. David Ludwig at Harvard recommends making protein 25 to 30% of your calories simply because it reduces ghrelin way faster than carbs or fat. Step 2. Sleep 7 to 9 hours. Look, this is absolutely non-negotiable if you want balanced hormones. Step 3. Cut the ultra-processed foods. Not just to cut calories, but to actually stop the chemical sabotage of your fullness signals. Step 4. Manage your stress. Whether that's through exercise or meditation, you've got to lower that hunger-driving cortisol. Step 5. Eat slowly. It biologically takes 20 full minutes for your gut to send that fullness signal to your brain. If you're eating too fast, you're literally outrunning the signal. And finally, Step 6. Feed your gut bacteria fiber and whole plants. This nurtures the good bacteria that signal satiety, rather than the bad ones that just demand sugar all day.
The most important thing I want you to remember is this. You were never weak for feeling hungry all the time. You were simply fighting against a rigged system that was completely stacked against you. But by finally understanding the science behind the signal, you can start to actually respond to your body's true needs, instead of just reacting to chemical manipulations.
So, you've taken back control of your hunger, but that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If your brain was being hijacked this whole time when it came to food, what else is your body trying to tell you that you might be completely misunderstanding? Stay curious, and we'll explore exactly that in the next explainer.